What's going on, Thrilligans? Hope everyone's doing well on this late September day. Listen, I know I'm a bit late. More on time than yesterday, but still 20 minutes late. But today, I have an awesome excuse. So as you guys know, after I dropped the girls off at school, I hit the gym, try to get a workout in, and I'm there from like 8 to 9:15ish. And literally from 8 to 9, I'm the only person in there. The woman who works there is there. But what's up, Nick? I'm the only one there. You'll like this story. So it actually, like, we talked about this the other day, Nick. So I'm there. I'm working out. I'm doing my thing. I'm just wrapping up. I got a couple more exercises to go. And some old guy comes in. And he often comes in around 9, just before I'm done. And he does some weird stuff to begin with. But the gym, while not huge, it's big enough that 2 people could share. He wants to work out right beside me, and normally I don't care. I'm pretty courteous in the gym. I share my weights. I put my shit back. I've been accused of making too much noise every once in a while. But what the hell? It's a gym, not a library. So this guy, he comes to work out beside me, and literally I have to get up mid-set. I was doing some chest flies. I got to get up mid-set, and I got to take off. I got to like walk to the other side of the gym and just deep breathe. And keep in mind, this is with the mask on too. This guy smelled so bad. Like, you're not going to the gym for aromatherapy, but this guy's odor was next level. He wears the same shit to the gym every day, but I had to fucking peace out. And so I had to wait for him to finish his workout before I could get in there. And even then, I had to do speed workout to get through it and just plug my nose. So yeah, that's why I'm a little bit late today, but I hope you guys understand. I know, Nick, this is exactly what you told me the other day when I told you the story about when I got in trouble for grunting too loud. But yeah, so that's what happened this morning. That's why I'm a bit late, but I'm here now. Like I said, I'm going to be live every day from 10 till about noon or 2, depending on how much work I can get done. And tomorrow night, quick reminder, tomorrow night, I'm going to have a very special guest on, and we're going to do some very fun live streaming. So I encourage you to join me. Grab your favorite apple juice beverage and hop on and post some questions in the chat for my special guest. Just some housekeeping. Mindy Bowen, Riley Lynn, and Caitlin, thanks for the follow. Tony, thanks for the like. Oh, there you go. Burps. Rylin was actually my first ever Twitch follower. So there you go. I'm on Twitch and YouTube now, but primarily streaming from Facebook because that's where you guys are at. So, oh, also, I don't know if he's here right now. Is Trevor here? If Trevor's here, post something. Say hello in the chat there, Trevor. It's Trevor's birthday. Trevor's often on here. He's one of my most loyal supporters, always popping in and saying hi. So Trevor, I just wanted to give you a very happy birthday. I hope your kids are spoiling you. Hope you get a little bit of reprieve from looking after them, or spend more time with them, whatever floats your boat. So happy birthday. Can I get everyone to write happy birthday in the chat? Okay, with an O. What am I, a writer or something? I can't spell these things. There, better? Anyways, is everyone, if he's here, let's give him big HBD. So, let's hop back on the live screen here. Boom. Yesterday, we started, I got a bunch of emails yesterday, actually, coincidentally. Coincidentally, I got a bunch of emails about adverse effects. Asked me when it's going to be out, how come they can't find it, yada, yada, yada. I actually put it up on pre-order yesterday. I'm going to see if I can find it right now. All right, so here you go. It is with this amazing, just inspiring book description. Oh my God. Didn't even finish the sentence. All right. Okay, I did that late at night, maybe after a couple apple juices, but here we go. It's up. It's going to be live on October 30th, and for everyone who is going to write me and send me 10 tweets and emails, and they're going to say, how can I read number 9 before number 8? Listen, number 9, almost already dead, is going to be pushed back to the end of October. So we're looking at getting adverse effects out at the end of October, and then probably the day after we'll have already dead. So please don't write me about that anyway. So, and that's what we started yesterday. We started adverse effects. I got 1 chapter in. Today I'm gonna go a bit longer, see if I can get maybe, I don't know, 5,000 to 8,000 words done. See if we can really get this story pushing along. I was thinking about it last night, thinking about more ideas. As I told you guys yesterday, it's going to be like a book in 2 parts, really. It's going to be one crime that needs to be solved, or kind of like a mystery. I don't know if it's a crime per se. And then at the end, or sorry, the second half is going to be more like a completely different crime. Related, but different. So that's kind of the goal. We're looking at, got done yesterday. We're looking at trying to hit total for the book about 65,000 words. Yesterday we did about 2,200, so looking forward to today, to getting some work done, and then maybe we could chat a bit more. Oh, there's Trevor. Let me hop back here. Boom. Happy birthday, Trevor. I'm glad you can make it today. What's up, Victoria? Yeah, if you guys are enjoying the stream, just hit that like, hit the follow. The button will actually make sure you're notified every time I go live. And if you prefer, sorry, to follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Actually, no, I'm only live on YouTube and Twitch, but thanks, Vanessa. There's Trevor with the like, always coming in with the like. Thanks, Nick. And Matt. Look at this. You losing your mind homeschooling, Victoria? I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. We were home with the kids for about 8 months, and it was a grind. It's not like writing a book, which what I'm used to. You know, you write the first draft, you go back and re-edit it. You can't do that in real life. So when you're dealing with your kids, especially when they're acting up, you can't really go back and edit what you said or what you did or how you acted. Oh, Trevor's homeschooling too. My God, you guys, man. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. Man, I could barely work here with the wife in the same house, let alone working and homeschooling and everything that you guys do. All right, let me load up my program. No, I think yesterday I didn't review the footage from yesterday, but I didn't hear anybody complaining about the fact that frames were dropped or cut out like the day before. So I think I hope I permanently fixed the technical issues we had on Monday. If that's the case, then I'll be happy, man. Like I said, I built this computer from the ground up, never done it before, and so far no fires. At least none of the physical kind. Today we're going to get going with the prologue. I promised you guys yesterday. I wrote chapter 1 yesterday because the chapter 1 is about Chase and just to get back in the groove, get in her mindset. But then the prologue is not going to involve her, so that's why I want to do that first. But now I'm going to go back and do the prologue, and then we'll help back to Chase. And I think actually, this is what I was thinking about last night. Floyd is one of my favorite characters of all my books. And he's going to take a more prominent role as he did in the Chase series throughout, I guess, books 5, 6, 7, mostly 6 and 7. But I think I'm going to actually have chapters from his perspective. I think that would be kind of interesting. So I'm going to toy with that. I'm going to try that. And if it works, then I'm going to keep doing that throughout the book. Otherwise, I'll just revert to only being Chase. All right. I'm just trying to think of some names here. This is the hardest part. I'm telling you guys, the hardest part about writing books is coming up with names, especially ones that you haven't used. After 50 books, I've used every name. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna steal your guys' names from the chat. Yeah, Victoria, you're doing a great job. Let me tell you something. The answer to every question is bacon. I love it. I love it. For you guys not looking at chat, Victoria said that she asked her kindergartner yesterday, if yesterday was Monday, what is today? And her kid answered bacon. So you're off to a great start. All right, Cairo, Killian, Area, and Ryder. I need female names though. Ryder be a girl. I'm going with well, first of all, I'm sweating. Usually, listen, Trevor, you're out. You're gonna be banned from the chat here. Usually I have a rule in my house. The heat does not go on until November 1st, but the wife made me turn it on like 2 days ago when it was a balmy like 13 Celsius. And now I am just legit sweating. Okay. Hey, moderators, can we boot some people from the chat? Can we get some real names like Big Bertha? Dickie McFinkelstein? Kylie? Kylie's all right. There was listen, stop calling me the wife, okay? Like I said to you, you can call me whatever you want so long as you don't call me late for dinner. There was a girl, I don't know if it was a girl. Anyways, there was a child in one of my daughter's daycare and her name was Blues Ray. I was thinking like You know, it's lucky they picked Blu-ray and not high definition HDD or whatever the alternative was back in the day. Cairo and Aria are girls. Nakia is my daughter's BFF. Okay, let me clarify. These are of current teenagers, so I need some names that are more like 15 to 20 years old. These names all seem super young. Oh, Brooke, I like Brooke. All right, here we go. And it's actually, to be honest, it was last names I was looking for, but you know. Here we go. We're gonna get started. You guys keep typing names in the chat. That's all good. I'm gonna go with Dickie Big Bertha McFinkelstein. I think that'd be legit. It sounds like something from Naked Gun. Prologue, new paragraph. Madison Bailey stared at the slid her phone from the clutch that hung around her shoulder and stared straight ahead, across the 32nd Street subway station, period. In the distance, she could hear the characteristic hum of the subway somewhere down the deep dark tunnel making its way towards her, period to paragraph. But this was the furthest thing from her mind, period to paragraph. She was focused on only one thing, comma. What her friends were thinking at that very moment, period. But this wasn't some sort of typical teenage lack of confidence or self-consciousness, comma. This was something different, period to paragraph. After all, comma, Madison Bailey was one of the most popular girls in her high school, period. She was tall, comma, pretty, comma, with blonde hair that bordered on white, period to paragraph. She'd always been popular, comma, too, period. She remembered once when her mother had spoken to her teacher on the phone, comma, when they had done an impromptu parent-teacher interview, and Madison just happened to overhear her mother's end of the conversation. When she'd been about When she'd been about 12 years old, comma, her mother had gotten on the phone with her teacher at the time, comma, for a parent-teacher interview, period. Curious, comma, Madison had picked up the other phone in the house and listened in, period to paragraph. She was surprised at the things that her teacher had to say about her, comma, mostly because they were nice things, period. Her teacher wasn't known for saying nice things, comma, at least not in the classroom, period to paragraph. But one thing had always struck Madison. But while she could no longer remember this conversation of more than 7 years ago, 5 years ago, comma, one particular comment that her teacher had made had always stuck with her for all these years, period. New paragraph, open quote. Madison just has that sort of magnetic attraction, comma. When she enters the room or when she speaks, people are looking at her or listening to her, period, close quote in the paragraph. Madison wasn't sure what this meant, comma. She only knew at the time that it was a good thing, comma, something positive, period, in the paragraph. But as she grew into her teen years, comma, Madison found this started to realize what this meant and noticed it pretty much everywhere she went, period, in the paragraph. In the cafeteria, she could sit down by herself, and within minutes, there would be people all around her, period. Not necessarily her friends, comma, either, comma. Just random people that she'd seen once or twice in the large school, comma, or those she'd never even seen before, period, in paragraph. They would just congregate around her, comma, eat their food in silence, comma, acknowledging her presence without saying a word, period, in paragraph. So this was different, period, in paragraph. And when the phone in her hand, comma, which had been previously dormant, comma, buzzed, comma, her heart skipped a beat, period, in paragraph. Her first thought was that her phone hadn't actually indicated that she had a text message, semicolon. She thought that it was just the subway train approaching, comma, barreling its way through the dark tunnel towards the 32nd Street station, period, in paragraph. But when the notification showed up, comma, a tiny green circle reminiscent of a thought box in an old school comic, comma, Madison sucked in a deep breath, period, in paragraph. But despite her with a trembling hand, comma, she clicked the message, and while it opened, comma, she didn't read it right away, period. Instead, comma, she turned her head to her right, comma, her eyes falling on her friend Brooke, who stood not 2 feet beside her, period, in paragraph. Like her, comma, Brooke was tall and lean with an identical color of hair, period. Blonde bordering on white, period, in paragraph. She wasn't surprised to see that Brooke had taken Brooke clutched her cell phone in her hand, comma, a clear indication that she too had received a message, period, in paragraph. What surprised her, comma, however, comma, was the fact that Brooke was staring back at her, period, in paragraph. If her friend's expression had been different, comma, if it had been dour, comma, fearful, comma, anything but showing sheer elation, comma, things might have been different, period, in paragraph. But that was Brooke for you, semicolon, always smiling, comma. And while she didn't command the room like Madison did, comma, she had a way of brightening everyone's mood nonetheless, period, in paragraph. Madison thought that her friend gave her a subtle nod, comma, something that she returned without thinking, period. Then she raised her eyes above Brooke's head, and her gaze fell on Kylie's unlike Brooke, comma, she wasn't looking back at Madison, comma, but her face was aimed downward towards her cell phone, period, in paragraph. She too had received the message, period, in paragraph. Madison's smile grew, comma, which only continued to spread across her face as she continued along her line of friends until finally falling on Victoria, comma, the last of her crew, period to paragraph. Like the rest of them, comma, Victoria's eyes were locked on her cell phone, period to paragraph. Nodding to herself now, comma, Madison finally gathered enough courage to look down at her cell phone, period to paragraph. It was a single message, comma, a single message from the fifth of the crew, comma, the only one that wasn't here today, period. And the only reason that Ashley wasn't here was because she'd been feeling a little under the weather, period to paragraph. Otherwise, comma, they'd all be standing in a row, Madison in the lead, comma, and Ashley at the very end, period. They'd be gossiping, comma, chatting, comma, laughing and sipping on lattes that cost a small fortune, period to paragraph. But not today, period to paragraph. Because today was different, period to paragraph. Today, comma, Ashley was at home, period to paragraph. Today, comma, Ashley had sent a message, period to paragraph. It was but a single line, comma, but it was enough, period to paragraph. Because Ashley was... When Madison was the ringleader of their so-called crew, comma, Ashley was the brains of the operation, period. Ashley was the one who would call out Victoria if she stepped out of line or started spouting some pseudoscience, period. Ashley was the one to internalize their conversations, comma, and then get back to them a day later after she'd done her research and call them out on a point that Madison didn't even remember making, period to paragraph. And now, comma, it appeared that Ashley had done her research, comma, as they all expected her to, period to paragraph. Madison read the line one final time, comma, making sure that she spent a moment internalizing every single word, period to paragraph. And then she looked up, period to paragraph. But she didn't look at her friends, comma, not this time, period to paragraph. And yet, comma, she felt Brooke come closer to her, period. With her eyes still locked on the dirty placard across the other side of the subway tunnel, indicating their stop, comma, Madison felt blindly for Brooke's hand, period to paragraph. She was surprised to find that her friend's palm wasn't clammy or cold, comma, but warm and inviting, period to paragraph. She grasped her fingers. They interlaced their fingers, comma, and while Madison didn't look beyond Brooke, comma, she knew that Victoria, Kylie, and Victoria had also grabbed hands, comma, that they were 4 in a row, period of paragraph. Madison would have liked to have Ashley there with them, comma, but her time. But she also knew that the time was now, period of paragraph, that Ashley would follow them in her own way, period of paragraph. The rumble of the subway train grew louder, comma, and Madison closed her eyes, period. Her eyes. New paragraph. Just another few seconds, comma. That's all I need, period. Just another few seconds, period, to paragraph. She wasn't scared, period. She thought she'd be scared when this moment finally came, comma, but she wasn't, period, to paragraph. Instead, comma, the smile that had spread across her face when she'd looked down the line at her friends grew even larger, period. It grew so large that her cheeks started to hurt, period, to paragraph. Then she started counting down, comma, feeling the rumble of the train travel up through the platform to the soles of her shoes, and then up to her knees, and then finally to her chest, where it seemed to thrum along with her accelerated heartbeat, period, new paragraph. 3, ... new paragraph. Madison took another breath, comma, this time letting it out through her mouth in a slow exhale, period, new paragraph. 2, ... new paragraph. The shaking was almost euphoric now, comma, spreading to the crown of her head and then down to her hand and her fingers that intertwined with Brooks, period, new paragraph. 1, ... new paragraph. And then, comma, just as she heard the sound of the air brakes, subway brakes starting to engage, comma, Madison and her 3 friends stepped off the platform and onto the tracks, period. Okay. As you can see, just getting into the groove. Just getting into the groove. That's it. That's the setup. As you guys know, as loyal Thrilligans, I really like to do the prologue as the setup to the crime or the incident that then the protagonist, be it Chase, Drake, or Beckett, have to investigate. And so in this case, we have these 4 girls who decided, for reasons unknown, that they, after receiving this mysterious text, they decided to jump onto the tracks. And spoiler alert, it's not going to end well for them. And now we're going to head back to Chase and Floyd, and we're going to delve deeper into this sort of crime. Period. New paragraph. Yeah, that's how you got to do it. I suppose I could go back, but that would take forever. I didn't slurp my coffee either. It's very cold by now. And it's already coursed through me. So I need to take a quick break and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm gonna take a quick second here and look at, make sure things are going. All right, we seem to be up and rolling on Twitch, and we're going strong on YouTube. All right, cool. Oh, you know what I forgot there? I forgot to put the tunes on. The lo-fi hip-hop beats. I'll put that on for next chapter. This is what I'm listening to here. You guys are aware, gotta be copyright free music. I think once you become a partner on Facebook, and who knows how that happens, then you could play any music you want. But I kind of dig these these free things. Over here on the right, I think I wrote all of Strawman with this Oblivion. It's like a yeah, kind of like what's that movie called? Blade Runner 2049, something like that. It's like a Blade Runner type thing. I literally listen to music pretty much all day, every day, so. Let's get back at it. I think I'm going to hit chapter 2 here. We're going to try to do a Floyd comment. One of the one of the biggest mistakes I made. I think I've told you guys this before, but I don't know if you remember back when Floyd first came into existence, let's say, back in Frozen Stiff, the very first book in Chase's series, he had this horrible stutter. And at the time, I really liked that because it highlighted certain aspects of his personality. Like he was quite trepidatious. He was unsure of himself. He was just basically a guy driving a car for whoever his uncle, the sheriff, told him to drive around town. And while he was interesting, he loved trains, that kind of thing. You could tell that he was very self-conscious, very much the opposite of what Madison and her friends were like. And so I thought a stutter really worked for him. But as the series went on, and as I wrote more of him, it was a nightmare. A nightmare. First of all, I cannot stutter using the program. It won't let me. It just basically assumes that I have a natural stutter, and therefore it eliminates it. So I'd have to go back in and type out the, you know, whatever it is. You know, today, Junior. So that was a nightmare. So a couple books ago, I had him as part of his FBI training. He had some speech therapy classes, and he ended up losing that stutter. And now it's kind of fun because it only comes up when he's super nervous, and then that's only a few times. Also, my wonderfully patient narrator, Lainey Pejos, who brings Chase to life on the audiobooks, she must have found it to be absolutely brutal to be using that stutter when she vocalized Floyd. Susan, let me show you something, Susan. Andy, thank you for the like. Appreciate it, my man. You guys, it's free to hit that like button. Really helps the stream grow. Like I was saying, I have something like 15,000 followers on Facebook, but Facebook will send it out to 1% of you guys. And if you guys like the stream and share it, then it'll send it out to more people, more of the followers, more of the Thrilligans, and let them know that I'm live. Yeah, so Susan, here it is. Go on here. Oops. It's not linked to my profile yet, my author page, I don't think. No, it's not linked yet. So it'll take a few days to link that up. And then I'll rearrange. So today I'm going to rearrange some of the pre-order dates. What's up, Lex? Thanks very much for the like. Lisa, thanks for the like as well. Yeah, I'm gonna mix up some of those pre-order dates, and everything's gonna be pushed back towards the end of October. But this should be the final date. And like I said, you guys are live listening to me live stream it. So, yeah, it'll be done. Promise. All right, let's go back at it. Let's get another chapter in here. So we're moving back towards Floyd's perspective here. Give it a shot. Anybody remember his last name? Floyd. Man, I cannot remember his last name. Okay, whatever. We'll have to go back and do some research. All right, here we go. Let's get some. Chapter 2, new paragraph. Floyd XYZ nodded at the NYPD officer who lifted the yellow crime scene tape and allowed him to pass under, period, new paragraph. As he walked down the concrete staircase leading to 32nd Street subway station, comma, he breathed in deeply, period. He didn't have the same passion for subways as he did for locomotives, comma, but they were in the same genre, period, new paragraph. And being in this place, comma, being around a train always gave him solace, comma, ever since he had been a boy, period, new paragraph. Ever since it was the only toy that he had to play with, comma, an old and rusted Thomas the Train Engine that he still had today, period, new paragraph. To this very day. But there was something different about this experience, period, mixed in with the smell of grease and grime that was prototypical of pretty much every subway station around the world, comma, was another scent, period, new paragraph, the smell of death, period, new paragraph. He'd been prepped on his way from Virginia to New York City, comma, but no matter how many crimes that he saw, comma, up close, comma, visceral, comma, violent, comma, and disturbing, comma, he never seemed to get used to the idea of death, period, new paragraph, not even since having his own near-death experiences, comma, which now had reached close to double digits, period, new paragraph. His heart started to beat a little faster in his chest, comma, and despite the cool air that followed him in from the street above, comma, sweat beaded on his forehead, period, new paragraph. He absently wiped it away with his two fingers and continued toward the group of police officers that stood huddled near the subway train that was stopped in the station, period, new paragraph. It wasn't hard to tell who was in charge, period. One man stood in center of the group, comma, a man who was only about 10 years older than Floyd himself. Comma, a man who Floyd knew to be only about 10 years older than himself, comma, but looked at least a quarter decade older than that, period, new paragraph. Detective Stephen Dunbar, period, new paragraph. The man's face had become more weathered since the last time Floyd had seen him, period. Dark bags clung to the underside of his eyes like and his posture was more slumped, period. He seemed to have lost weight since the last time. The man also seemed to have lost some weight, comma, and while he had a little bit to lose still, comma, it was clear that this wasn't a result of eating healthier or exercising, period, new paragraph. No, comma, it was a result of complacency, period, new paragraph. It was obvious that, like Floyd, comma, Stephen Dunbar hadn't become accustomed to being surrounded by death day in and day out, period to paragraph. As Floyd made his way nearer to the group of police officers, Detective Dunbar noticed him and politely gestured for the other officers to move out of the way, period to paragraph. Floyd walked right up to him and gave him a sharp nod, period to paragraph. Open quote. Dunbar, close quote, he said, period. Although they weren't good friends by any means, in fact, they had only met each other a handful of times, what they'd experienced was enough for them to be on last name only terms, period to paragraph. Besides, he knew that the man preferred to be referred to as just Dunbar and not Detective Dunbar or Stephen, period to paragraph. Open quote. Floyd, close quote. Dunbar returned, clearly knowing how Floyd too liked to be called, period to paragraph. They shook hands, a slow, abbreviated pump, and then Dunbar guided him towards the subway train, period to paragraph. He said nothing, which was also the way Floyd preferred it, period. He didn't have Chase's special skills, he didn't have her insight, he didn't have her subconscious ability to recreate crimes, period to paragraph. Sometimes he liked to pretend that he did, that he was some sort of savant like she was, period to paragraph. It didn't work, of course, but it offered him some self-confidence that while he found that he occasionally found lacking, period to paragraph. But he also liked the silence of the scene, he liked to observe it, take it all in, absorb everything he saw before he became biased with other people's thoughts and opinions about what had happened, period to paragraph. Floyd closed his eyes, just for a brief second to collect himself, and followed this with a deep breath in through his nose and then out through his mouth, period to paragraph. When he opened his eyes again, he steeled himself against what he knew was coming, what he had seen in the photographs, period to paragraph. Unfortunately, the photographs didn't do it justice, period to paragraph. The train was stopped about 3/4 into the station, leaving about a 20 or 25 foot gap from the front end and where the tunnel continued, period to paragraph. There were bodies beneath the train, in the tracks in front of it, and pressed against the actual subway car, period to paragraph. But Floyd only knew this because it was in the notes that Director XYZ had given him on the flight over, period to paragraph. What he saw now, was hard to discern, period. There was a lot of blood, period to paragraph. Blood covered the front of to actually see through it and the metal of the car, period to paragraph. And then there was the hair, period to paragraph. Matted hair clung to the front of it like the desperate tendrils of a spider. A desperate spider caught out in a rainstorm, period. Blonde hair, red hair, hair of indistinguishable color, period to paragraph. Floyd averted his eyes, period. He knew that Dunbar was watching him now, observing him, and he knew that his actions wouldn't inspire confidence in him, period to paragraph, but it was just too much, period to paragraph. 4 girls, 4 girls, not even in their 20s yet, new paragraph. The thought made him sick to his stomach, period to paragraph. As if hearing, open quote, What would make them do this? Question mark, close quote. He said softly, period to paragraph, open quote. That's what I was hoping you could help me with, comma, close quote. Dunbar replied, period to paragraph. Floyd's eyes snapped open and he looked at the man, period. He hadn't been aware that he'd uttered the words out loud, comma. But now that he had, comma, he wished he could take them back, period to paragraph. Dunbar looked at him and blinked once, period to paragraph, open quote. From what I can tell, comma, these girls were popular, period. Happy, period. They had everything going for them, period, close quote, to paragraph. The man offered, period, to paragraph. Floyd nodded, period, to paragraph. He'd had some background on the plane about these girls, comma, and had come to the same conclusion, period. They all came from affluent families, comma. In fact, comma, they went to a prestigious private school, period. Their social media profiles indicated a active social life, comma, and more friends than Floyd had ever had in his life, period to paragraph. But he wasn't naive, comma. He knew that life in social media wasn't real life, comma, that people only posted the best of their lives, comma, even if below the surface they were living a personal hell, period to paragraph. But for four of them, question mark, four of them to for four girls such as these to commit mass suicide, question mark, new paragraph, he knew that there was more at play here than depression, period, new paragraph. Floyd gathered more courage and turned his eyes back to the scene, period, new paragraph. Open quote. What would make you do this? Question mark, close quote. He asked, comma, and this time, comma, Dunbar remained silent, period. All right. Oh, what's up, Linda? Thanks for joining. Montgomery, that's it. Victoria. That's exactly what it is. Amazing. Much obliged. I knew it was something like that, but I was getting him mixed up with Leroy. I was Leroy Walker or something. I don't know why. Anyway, so yeah, so I hope let me turn this down a little bit. I think I'm liking this, doing Floyd's perspective. Yeah, he's different from Chase. Completely different character, completely different background. Although, admittedly, no one has Chase's background. How fucked up that is. But he comes from a different world, so I like to kind of illustrate the crimes from a very different perspective. So I think I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna switch between Chase and Floyd, and then just maybe they'll come together, and then I'll switch to just Chase. And then remember, I gotta get Chase a butterfly tattoo. Second here. Oh, Linda. Paperback, yeah, usually about a week after. Always the same, a week after the ebook. Ashley, thank you so much. I really appreciate your nice comments, kind comments. I just do what I can to keep you guys entertained, and it seems to be working. So I'm very grateful. I guess I don't say this enough, guys, but I'm super grateful for all of your support, both the live stream, but in particular, just purchasing my books, reading my books, sharing my books, reviewing my books, and so on. I'm so, I don't want to get cliched here, but I'm so blessed to be able to do this for a living. I absolutely love it. I wake up most mornings and I think to myself, how is this possible? How can I write books? How can I make stuff up and make a living at it and take care of my family? So I really, really appreciate it. And I just want to make you guys aware that I am super, super grateful for your support. Shed a tear. Nah, I'm yeah, so I just hope to keep doing this for years and years. I'm 38, a young, vibrant. I'm 38 years old now, and so far I'm around 50 books. I hope to, when I retire, to have a couple hundred under my belt. And with each book, I really try to just do a better job. Just to write a little bit better, a little bit more entertaining, a little bit, a little bit more exciting. So that's it. Just try to do a little bit better each time. I kind of equate it to going to the gym. So when I go to the gym, I always try to improve a little bit on what I did before. So, sometimes it's an extra rep, sometimes a little bit more weight. Sometimes I can't do it. Depends on what I did the night before, how much sleep I had, what I ate, that sort of thing. But I always try to push a little bit harder. So that's what I take that mentality to most things in life, and writing books in particular. I try to write it. I try to use my experience from the previous book and just write a little bit better, a little bit tighter. Based on you guys' reviews, I think you agree. The stories are different. The characters I write are very different. Drake is probably most similar to Chase. Beckett is way out there. There's nobody like him. And Tommy is completely different as well. So it's hard to compare all these books, but I just try to write a little bit better each time. Oh, again, very much appreciate those comments, Ashley. It's things like that keep me going, that make me strive to write more books, better books, that sort of thing. I think I had a good grasp of it though. After 50, people say to me sometimes, like, how do you do it? How do you write a book a month? People don't join the live stream because you guys know exactly how I do it. But how do you do a book a month? How do you have all these ideas? And then I try to equate it to something that they do for work or one of their passions. And I say, like, one of my friends, he owns a pizza restaurant here in Montreal. Actually, the pizza restaurant that is featured in Butterfly Kisses. And I said to him one day, like, I think he made that comment, like, how do you write a book a month? And I said to him, well, when you made your first pizza, it probably was a good pizza. Don't get me wrong. It probably wasn't your best pizza, and it probably took you a lot of time to make this pizza, right? You wanted everything to be perfect. You had this idea about what a pizza should be, a good pizza. And he agreed. He goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so now you're years into owning this restaurant, making thousands of pizzas. How is it now? He's, well, I make great pizza. It takes me a third of the time, a quarter of the time, that sort of thing. So once you work that muscle memory in, once you commit to something, be it, I don't know, running or writing or drawing or whatever your passion is, whatever your creative passion is, the more time you put into it, just the easier it becomes and the better you get at it. And I think that's pretty much true for all things in life. But you got to commit and you got to put the time in, which is why I think actually I start off a little bit slow when writing. You guys who were here for Straw Man, like towards the end, I was like, I was just off the wall. I was going so fast. The program could not keep up with me. I was super, super excited. And that's kind of how all my stories go, really. And I think it mirrors to a little bit the progression of the story itself. So right now we're just doing this kind of exploratory phase where we're looking at the crime and the characters. We're getting back into the groove of them. And that's kind of why the pace is a bit slower. But it's also because this is the first book that I've written since Straw Man. And there's been an interval refractory period. And so I need to teach my brain how to get going, right? So I got to remember a little bit. And I think though that because I've done so many books and I've been doing this for so long, I think that kind of refractory period is shrinking. And like I said yesterday, I kind of want to get that down as short as possible. I want to be able to finish a book and then hop directly into the next one. And I'm not quite there yet. I need a little mental break in between. And during that time, obviously, I have the editing to do. But I would like to keep... And I think that if I could do that, if I get that down to like a week between actually writing books, then the process of writing the book will also become more streamlined. Like what I'm doing now, it'll be a little bit quicker. And so not only will I be able to write more books kind of closer together, but the time it takes me to write an individual book will also get shorter. Oh, and because I know this is inevitably coming, someone will always say, wow, like writing fast books is not the goal. Like you should write, the faster you write, the lower quality is. And that's just 100% absolute bullshit. I can only speak from my own experience, but the faster I write a book, the better the book is. The story flows better. It's more cohesive just because the time in between writing the different parts is necessarily shrunk. And some of the books that I've written the fastest, I'm trying to think. I think it was Extracting, one of the Beckett's books, Extracting Evil, maybe. I wrote super, super fast. And that's one of your guys' favorites, according to reviews in the comments and so on. So, yeah. So I'll clear that up. Because inevitably I'll get someone message me. I stay on topic more? You mean like when I write more quickly? Not sure what you mean, but if that's what you mean, yeah, definitely. You stay in the story more. Oh, Victoria, you're gonna be banned. What happened to sacrifice? Yeah. Yeah, just to finish up that comment for Ashley, before I get to yours, Victoria. Yeah, basically, you would, for me anyways, if I were to write just a little bit each day, I would literally have to come back into it. It would take me so much time to get involved in this story again, because the way I write and the way I'm able to do this, where I dictate just with nothing on the page, and there are some mental breaks, but during the process, in the individual chapters, as you just saw, the reason why I'm able to do this is I'm just picturing something in my mind. So I am picturing, in the last chapter, I'm picturing Floyd, right? So I know who Floyd is. You guys know who Floyd is. I don't need to spend hours describing him physically. I do a couple reminders in there about his self-conscious nature, which I mentioned before I did the chapter, and I put little tidbits in there. But I'm just picturing this man, this FBI agent, this young FBI agent, walking down the steps into a subway station, which in itself is, has its own pathetic fallacy. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's grimy. And he knows that he's going to see this horrible scene of death, and he's just not quite ready for it. And then that towards the end of the chapter, I just wanted to have the reveal of the scene, which would be the bloody bodies. In this case, just lots of blood. And so I'm just picturing what's going on, and I'm just telling that story. It's like I'm around a campfire, and I'm telling a story about what happened last night when so-and-so was being goofy or whatever. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just telling the story, and I'm picturing in my mind as I'm going. So I don't like to get bogged down about like choosing the specific correct word or getting all the names right. That's why you'll see me throw in placeholders, XYZ, that sort of thing, because I want to. I just want to get the story out there, and then that's what the editing phase is for. So I write. With Strawman, it'll take me about a week. It took me about a week to write, and then it'll take me about a week to edit. Although I do like to have a little bit of a break in between, just so I can have kind of fresh eyes, for lack of a better term, or more cliched term. And then in that, I'll make sure, like, it makes sense. It's cogent, that I choose my words more carefully. I try to make it, if the scene that I picture in my mind doesn't really fit, then I'll change the scene a little bit. But in terms of first draft, and for me, again, getting the first draft out as fast as possible is my goal, just because the story is fresh and raw and I just want it on the page. Then I just ignore that stuff in the first draft. Occasionally I'll come up with some really nice phrases that I like, and I'll think of these like when I'm, lying down, going to bed, or, I'm on a walk, and then I'll come back to this. This Scrivener document, and I'll write it down, right? Especially with Beckett, because Beckett, I gotta come up with like quirky, offensive, and just belligerent sayings, right? So I would think of these during the day, and I'd come back and I'd just type them in, and that would be it. It would just be the saying in its own chapter, and then when I'm doing the editing, I'll come back and be like, oh, that would fit really nicely here. And that's more just about exploring his personality, or reinforcing Beckett's personality. But even for Chase, like, I'll have an idea about something like that butterfly tattoo. So while I was joking with you guys about, like, I have no idea why I put it there, obviously, given the context of her series, it makes a lot of sense. It's a constant reminder of her sister. It reminds her of what happened with Drake. So there are a lot of links to different characters and different parts of her life. So I will, at some point, have her get this butterfly tattoo. Yeah. Brandy, thank you very much for the like. Appreciate it. Whatever happened to sacrifice? All right. I think I'm going to do another chapter, and I'll get back to you, because I've been talking a lot and haven't been working a lot. No, just kidding. I love chatting with you guys, but that is a can of worms. I'm going to move back to Chase here. Do a chapter with Chase. And oh yeah, so I'll give you a quick example. Sorry, one more point. So yesterday, as I was writing, or after I wrote this Chase chapter, right, and there was a bit of a back. No, I can't. So there was a bit of Louisa was talking. There was some issue about Louisa losing weight, but now she's eating the bacon. You guys remember that, right? So one of the things that I wanted to mention was that Chase herself has lost a lot of weight for different reasons. So I will go in, and I would be. I'll go in, and this is what I should have done, but I forgot until this very moment. But I'll go in and I'll look for. Oh, yeah, okay. I'll find bacon, wherever that is. Search for bacon. I'll go in and I'll write something like... Okay, so... I remember that Chase loves to run. Even when she was a heroin addict, she was running. And so I think that now she has taken that to even more of an extreme. So obviously the idea of running, especially for a character, is some degree of escapism. And that's what she used it for before. And that's what she continues to use it for today. So I just wanted to make that point clear, that that when Louisa comments on her husband not allowing her to eat bacon, Louisa says, well, you could use the bacon too, or something to that effect. And then Chase is going to say that she's been running a lot. So this is kind of the thing that I'll think of later, and I'll pop in. And then during the editing phase, it'll literally take me 30 seconds just to fit it in there. And then that running theme will come up later. That's why I want to make that point here. So that's kind of an example of how I'll go back and make a change during the editing process. All right. Oh, man. All right. Okay. You guys are killing me. I can't get any work done. No, I appreciate the comment. So what happened to Sacrifice? So Sacrifice is the 7th book in the Haunted series. The Haunted series, so I started off in horror, as you guys know, and I wrote the Skin series first. But the Haunted series was, for a long time, my very best-selling books. And really, it was that series that allowed me to go full-time, or at least give me the glimpse of of the possibility of being able to write full time. It sold really, really well. It's pretty much nailed everything. Like the cover is fantastic. The twist in book 1, Shallow Graves, is amazing. It really strikes all the notes of the horror genre, of the haunted house genre, with kind of my little twist in there, or my kind of slant to the genre. And then I went on to write 5 more books in that series, and it ended with Shores of the Marrow. So it ended with Shores of the Marrow. And what I wanted for that series, spoiler alert, is I wanted the main character to fail. That was, and that's what happened, really. So Robert Watts he started off as this naive guy who was basically being cheated on by his wife, and there was a horrible accident, yada, yada, yada. And then he gets put into this world, this foreign world, the kind of a supernatural world, dealing with the spirits. Yeah, I don't want to rehash the whole story, but I wanted him to get to the end of that book, and I wanted him to make all the correct decisions, at least how he thought in his mind, the correct decisions. And then at the end, I wanted him to fail, like he made a mistake or he miscalculated. And that's what happened in Shores of the Marrow, and bad guys won. And while that is the book that I wanted to write, the reception for that final book was not great, let's just say. But I didn't want to end it there. I wanted to continue that series. I wanted to give him another chance of success, of doing the right thing. And that's where Sacrifice came in, and I have never written that book yet. Part of the reason is that I've moved on to thrillers, and I moved away from horror a bit. Part of the reason is because it's just too big a book to write. It would have to be multiple books, because the world had changed at the end of Shores of the Marrow, and I had this really cool idea of how the world has changed significantly, and how Robert is going to deal with that, and his friends were going to deal with that. And I have some great ideas, and I was going to tie in. I have plans to bring in characters from my other horror series. Liam Lancaster from Daughter was going to be in there, the cop. And Karina from the Insatiable series is going to be in there as well, because their worlds all kind of intertwine. And from there, I was going to write like maybe 4, 5, 6 more books and wrap that whole thing up. But I think what happened is, in my mind, as I took time away from writing that series, the ideas just grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's such a daunting task to think about writing that big a world, and stepping away from Drake and Chase, which, let's be honest, actually, I'm completely transparent here. It's Chase who pays the bills. The other series, Tommy series, does not sell at all. No idea why. I love that series. Beckett's series started to sell a little bit towards the end, but generally didn't sell that well. And Drake sells pretty good, and it's just Chase though that sells a lot. So if I were solely business oriented, I would only write Chase books, but I don't think I can do that from a mental standpoint. And so to commit to a 4 to 5 to 6 book series, continuation of that series right now, given the present economics, it's too daunting. That's it. Sad as that is, that's the truth. I think though, if I can get on a roll like I've been trying to do, and you guys have been really helping me by joining me here and supporting the stream, if I could continue to be as productive as I am by not answering all your questions, no, just kidding, but by getting books done in the fashion that I've been doing, especially with Straw Man, that kind of approach, then yes, there will be a time for Sacrifice. Eventually. Man, I paid a lot of money for the cover. The cover's fantastic. I feel bad for you guys. I don't mean to laugh, but it's literally been on pre-order like a dozen times and always canceled. So there will be a time where I get Sacrifice done. So that's it. That's your answer. And that's why I wanted to write a chapter before I got to your answer. Okay, one more thing here. Yeah, that's good advice, Chrissy. I know people who do that, who have like a very... Actually, so for people who write high fantasy, the names are usually weird. I don't know. With because that have like apostrophes. Like, think of a weird name in a high fantasy book, and so when you're using dictation software, you're typing it could be a mess. Like, the software will not like it, and so people will put in like a placeholder. They'll call a person Bob, and then just do find and replace on the keyboard or in the word processor. Change all Bob to, I don't know, Quagmire. And I know people do that. So your idea of putting TK is a good idea. But what I do, though, is I actually go through the whole book. I literally edit every single line, every single chapter. So for me, it doesn't matter. I just put a placeholder, XYZ, ABC. I don't do the search and find because I'm reading the whole thing over again. If my goal is to write 100 books before you die, please write these. Yeah. Thanks, Victoria. Yeah, no, I will write it. And yeah, I'll definitely hit 100 books. Come on. If I'm doing a book a month, I mean, do some hard math. That's only 3-4 years to do another 50. But you never know. Thanks, Catherine. I'm glad you like the books. As you can see, plenty more are coming, as well as a bunch of new characters. And I've been toying with the idea of writing under a pen name as well, but that's a comment for another day. Do I read out loud when I edit? No, generally not. Generally not. So I have done that. It's just too slow. It's too slow. I can't read as fast as I can't read out loud as fast as I can read in my head. But I have done it in certain parts. Like, if I find a part to be just a little bit off, especially when there's dialogue, then I will read that out loud. And when I read that out loud, it will help me make sure everything works. But actually, to tell you the truth, my books often go through like another very minor edit after I proof the audiobook. Because I know what you're saying. I know that it's very beneficial to read out loud when you're editing. It's just too slow for me. But when my producer does the audiobook and I edit the audiobook, when I edit the audiobook version, I guess, that they send to me, I proof it. I often hear things and I'm like, okay, there's a bit of an echo there. I said clearly and then clear 2 lines later. So I will go in and I'll just make that quick change to the Kindle ebook and the paperback as well. But generally, no, I don't read out loud when I edit. All right. Back to work. You don't do it either? I think it's an excellent thing to do to read out loud, especially if you're having some problems or you're getting some comments or things just don't feel right. They don't feel natural, and then reading out loud would definitely help you with that. Okay, guys, I'm going to hop on and do another chapter here. I lost my train of thought. Okay, we're gonna go back to Chase. My idea now, so that you guys know, is I'm gonna do another chapter of Chase, revealing a little bit more about her relationship with her niece, and then I'm gonna go back to Floyd, and then in that chapter of Floyd, at the end, he's going to say something like, "I really need some help with this," or "This is a case that someone else might have some insight into," hint, hint. And the chapter after that will be Chase getting a phone call. And then I hope to bring everything together around chapter 5 or 6. I think a little bit ahead in terms of the chapters. I think I know where things are kind of going, and I know what I need to happen, and I just kind of let the characters play it out. I let it go, and I always try to make it as fast as possible. I don't want to beleaguer this point of just speed. But what I mean is that in this case, I want the characters to go to their destination. It would be like, in my mind, if 2 characters are in a car and they're driving 200 miles away, the reader does not want to listen to them in a car, just random thoughts for hours. Some quirky things, sure. But if you guys ever seen, When you watch a TV show and there is a drive destination, that scene is super, super short. There might be something funny or there'll be some insights there into the characters, but generally it's just a clip of them driving in the car, making a joke, putting on music all the time. And one person hates the music, one person likes the music. Overdone, but that's the case. So I kind of think of that when I want to get to my destination, the story. I want to put these particular points in about the characters. I want the characters to be alive and not just goal oriented when it comes to the story, but I want them to move in that direction. And if the story's not, if I have a scene where it's just not moving the story forward at all, then I'll cut it out. In the past, whatever, that's a point for another time. Christy, at some point I'd love to hear about your plotting method. You missed it. You're literally watching my plotting method. Here you go. This is it. This is the prologue. This is chapter 1. This is chapter 2. And that's it. My research is Chase getting a tattoo of a butterfly. And I'm about to write the next chapter. I don't plot. I really just think of an idea and I tell a story. That's it. Like I said a couple moments ago, in my mind, I do have some ideas of what's happening or what's going to happen, but I don't really write those down. Yeah, my darkest series by far is the Family Value Trilogy series. That is super, super dark. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's just a reflection of where I was. Sometimes it is where I was at that time in my life. But I really like that series too. That one didn't sell at all. It was actually, I think Mother was inspired by, I don't know if you guys seen the most recent remake of Mad Max, but I think that movie is fantastic. It's just over the top in every way, super stylized, super graphic, just an adrenaline rush, really. And I really enjoyed it. And there was a scene of all these women who are like basically pumping their breast milk, and that crazy guy with the white hair is drinking it or something, if I remember correctly. And that scene alone inspired the entire book, Mother, which then spawned the whole series. So, or the Family Value Trilogy. And I think that's kind of where a lot of my ideas come from. I'll just notice something in another movie or book, and I'm like, oh my God, that is such a bizarre or cool or strange idea, and it'll just work its way into one of my stories somehow. Obviously, I'm not talking about copying the idea. The Mother and Mad Max could not be more different. Excuse me, but that's kind of where some of my ideas come from. Patty, you love the Haunted series. Okay, did you like the ending? Did you like Shores of the Marrow? I'm interested to hear you guys' comments, man. I told you why I wrote that book the way I did. Mother was not inspired by you. There's no way. I think I also had some friends who were like trying to conceive at the time too, and they're having a difficult time. And you know, I already had 2 kids. I think 2 when I wrote Mother. And so these kind of life experiences come and they regurgitate themselves in the form of books. That's my catharsis, really. And, you know, in a completely bizarre, bastardized, demonized way, of course. But that's how I get it. I get these kind of feelings. And I think someone said, I forget who it was, but someone commented on how authors are the most sane people. People think that we're crazy because we write these horror books, these slasher books, these murder mysteries. But the reality is we're more sane than everyone else because we take all of our fears and our dark thoughts, I guess, and we put them out there. We get them out and put them on paper as opposed to internalizing them or dwelling on them, that sort of thing. All right, so I'm going to do the next chapter. Patty, I know you're thinking about it. You're thinking about whether you liked Shores of the Marrow. Let me know. Let me know if you liked the conclusion or if you thought that you would have liked to see Robert win or your comments on that. And I get it, man. Like, people love happy endings. I don't love Disney-esque happy endings, but I do find that in books where you've invested so much into a central character, to have them fail without trying, I guess, or to have them die without succeeding. I think that that is a bit of a little letdown. It's a kick in the groin, I guess. You can have a main character die for sure, and I've done that. It's not a good business decision, but if you kill off a main character, you can't just have them spiral downward and die. You really have to have them achieve what they wanted to achieve, or have the character arc complete itself, and then you can have them die. Tidbits. What you come here for, isn't it? Glimpse into my demented mind. It's so weird to say these things, and I've got like this chiming music in the background, so mellow and relaxed. Yeah, Victoria, I know you're down with the darkness, because I know what other authors you like, and some of them are quite dark. Yeah, it definitely makes you guys demented. You guys are more demented than me. I'm demented. You guys are watching me be demented. Voyeuristic dementation. That's it. Something that Becca would say. Voyeuristic dementation. Yeah, Patty, I don't mind cliffhangers though. Like cliffhangers, people hate them, but they work. People want to buy the next book. I try not to do too many cliffhangers. Actually, the only series where I do hard cliffhangers is Tommy's series, and I do that on purpose because the books are shorter, punchier, more like more action based, I think. And that was a concerted decision on my part. Actually, I wanted to write One Wild Night. I wanted to do it with no internal thoughts. I wanted to make it like a TV show, and that was my goal. I wanted to have it, but still have the depth of a good book. But I wanted to have no internal thoughts. I just wanted it to be Tommy, and through what he was doing, you would learn more about what he's thinking. And I really wanted to leave it on a crazy cliffhanger. But with cliffhangers, you kind of have to have part of the story wrap up, and that's what happens, right? So he has part of the story wrapped up, but then it's like, oh no, but this thing happened. And then the next book, in book 2, in 2 Wild Weeks, it's like the same thing. You're running along with him, and then it's always, oh no, something else happened, and then it's on to book 3. And so that's what I've done. I got away. I kind of, my style is to have some internal thoughts, and so I know that Tommy, I don't know if I failed in that respect, but Tommy does have some internal thoughts. But that was my goal with that series. And maybe I just have to give it more of a chance. You guys have to give it more of a chance, really. So we'll see. Book 3, like I said, I've written book 3. It's like double the length of the other ones, but it really shows this coming of age, not coming of age, more of like a growth of Tommy's character. It's just basically he's changing so much. And the book is, even though there's a lot going on, and it's a lot of stuff that I have to learn, like lock picking and disposing bodies, and basically the whole crime scene cleanup business, which I think is fascinatingly, morbidly interesting, I guess. I lost my train of thought here. So yeah, I had to learn a lot of those things. I still wanted to only kind of be about him, about how he's changed, and how what he does, that one event with his brother changes the entire course of his life in ways that, just cannot go back. He cannot go back to the way he was. Though I wanted to make another comment about Tommy. I don't remember. I'm rambling. Patty says, yeah, I think I grew up reading Stephen King books, so I wouldn't be surprised if our style is quite similar. I will say this about Stephen King: he's very, very long-winded, and at times it does, especially some of his older books. Like I reread some of them, and they don't really hold up as well as I remember them. But that being said, he's still one of my favorites. I don't read much of his new stuff. Oh. Okay. What's up, Nurcham? How you doing? You're from Morocco? Well, I'm from Montreal. I guess we both probably speak French. Yeah, no, I don't read much of his newer stuff. Most of the time, I'm reading indie authors such as myself. Spend a lot of time reading Lex Vargas' stuff, Tim McBain. Who was the other one I recommended the other a couple months ago? The Winter series. Let's look it up. There you go. Mary Stone. Apologies, Mary, but I forgot your name, but there we go. So, big fan of Mary Stone. I think her books are great. I don't know if I told you this, but I read this, I actually listened to this one, Find Me by Anne Fraser. You got to get it. It is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I recommend 100% recommend Anne Fraser, all of her books, particularly this one. Very dark though, very dark. Lisa, you prefer indie authors as well? Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that being an indie author, both from my perspective anyways, it just gives us the flexibility to write books that are more current, that are more I don't want to say with the time. I don't know how to describe it. But it's more like it's the stories are usually shorter but more streamlined. Yeah, maybe Lisa, maybe you can help me out here. Why is it that you read indie authors? I mean, obviously, as an indie author myself, I love supporting other indie authors. But that's not the only reason. I just prefer their books, generally speaking. I guess they're not like. And also, as an indie author, look, okay, let's equate it this way. You have major television networks, right? Whatever, NBC, ABC, those sort of things. And they only have a certain amount of time in a day of material they could put out, right? 24 hours generally. And so when they look at the primetime hours from 7 till 10 in the evening, they are going to produce a show that has the largest audience breadth, that has the greatest numbers that they can get. So that means it has to appeal to a very, very broad range of individuals. But now compare that to Netflix. So with Netflix, you have unlimited time during the day because there are no like start and stop times. You just click whenever you want. Anybody can click anything. So you have more flexibility with putting out curated content for specific individuals. Now, obviously, they can't spend millions of dollars on a show that like has zero appeal or appeals to, like a show on underwater basket weaving competition, which appeals to 7 people in the whole world. Like that's just not going to cut it. The same reason why I can't write a book that is just like hyper specific for one type of person, but it allows them to write without being kind of censored by that time constraint, if that makes sense. So indie authors, I think, are very good at that. They can find their niche and they can really write for that audience and do it in a way that's kind of uncensored. And that, for a variety of reasons, the big publishers don't really allow that. Maybe that's unfair. The big publishers generally don't do that, let's say. There's a lot of cost involved. There's a lot of overhead involved with traditional publishing. And so this handcuffs them in some ways. Now, that being said, obviously, some of the best books are still written by traditionally published authors. But yeah, I prefer indie authors. That's it. Yeah, Anne Fraser's books, highly recommended. So she's not an indie author. She's published by Amazon, but Amazon is, even though I guess it's not a traditional publisher, but it is a big publisher. They just run things a little bit differently than, let's say, HarperCollins or something like that. And again, I'll preface this by saying I've never had any interaction with them, so I'm only going off by what I heard, and I could be, shit out of, batshit crazy here and making stuff up. But that's what I do for a living, right? So I'm good at it. The Forest by Michael Brent Collins was mind exploding. I've read I've read Michael Brent Collins before, and I really love his work. I'm trying to think of the one. He wrote a book where at the opening scene there was like this bug that crawled across someone's face. You know the one I'm talking about, Victoria? I cannot remember, and I loved it. Yeah, some of the indie horror authors that I particularly enjoy. Joe Conrath is amazing. Ian Rob Wright, I think his name is quite good as well. I enjoyed his stuff. Michael Brent Collins. If you like things that are not quite as dark, then I'll recommend like Ron Ripley and his kind of, I think Scare Street. I think that's maybe his kind of his company there, but they put out some books. I find them to be a little bit on the lighter fare. Isn't that I read? The Apparition? I don't know. The Haunted, maybe? Okay. I don't know. I can't remember which one I read by Michael Brent that I particularly enjoyed, but man, they changed this thing. Look at The Forest. When was this out? Is it recent? Oh yeah, okay. I have to pick that up. Conrath and Wright are awesome. Ellery Kane is great too. I don't think I've heard of Ellery Kane. Okay. Daddy Darkest. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. I read, not that I'm here and completely off topic. I read, what is this here? This one. Dean Koontz, and I, like, for whatever reason, I think when I grew up, I was a Stephen King fan, and I imagined that there was this battle between Stephen King and Dean Koontz, and like, you either like one or the other, and they hated each other, and they're always competing. There's a clear winner, obviously, but it's for that reason, I think I just never read Dean Koontz, and I think this was, believe it or not, this was the very first book that I read, and like, weird. Like, not in a bad way. It's good. It's ranked 76 in the store, but it's a very short story. I know he has this series here. It's kind of, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was not what I expected. Yeah, are you guys Dean Koontz fans or Stephen King fans? It's one or the other. Maybe that'll be the poll for tomorrow. $11.50. I've been on for 2 hours and did 2 chapters. This is not productive. Get back out of here. All right, here we go. I'm gonna do another quick chapter, and then we'll come back to chatting. Chapter 3, new paragraph. Chase had to give it to Louisa, semicolon. While she didn't have much of an appetite these days, comma, she could make a mean BLT, period. It took her all of 35 seconds to inhale the sandwich, comma, wolf it down, comma, and then was grateful when Louisa offered her the final piece of bacon, period, new paragraph. She ate that too, comma, and then looked guiltily at Georgina, who was still on her first bite, period, new paragraph. Open quote, sorry, comma, close quote. Chase grumbled, period, open quote. Must have been starving, period, close quote, new paragraph. Georgina raised an eyebrow, comma, giggled, comma, and then continued to chew the hunk of sandwich, bacon, comma, lettuce and tomato in her mouth, period, new paragraph. Open quote, you getting ready for school? Question mark, close quote, Louisa asked, period, new paragraph. Chase's eyes immediately darted from her niece to Louisa's, period, new paragraph. This was another point of contention, comma, and even though she had told Louisa on many an occasion not to bring up school in front of Georgina, comma, the woman insisted on doing it, period, new paragraph. Open quote. We're still working out the details, comma. Isn't that right, Georgina? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Georgina stopped mid-chew, comma, hesitated, comma, and then swallowed, period, new paragraph. When she spoke up, comma, her eyes were directed at Louisa's, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Chase says she might homeschool me, period. Says that I might stay here and be in school, period, close quote, new paragraph. Louisa. Chase thought she saw the corner of Louisa's mouth twitch, period. New paragraph, open quote. Is that right? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Open quote. That's right, comma, close quote. Chase confirmed, period, new paragraph. And then, comma, to put an end to this discussion, comma, she rose from the seat and collected her plate and Louisa's plate, period, new paragraph. As she walked by the woman, comma, she made sure to keep her eyes locked on Louisa's, period, new paragraph. They'd had this discussion on many an occasion, period, new paragraph. And truthfully, comma, Chase knew that keeping Georgina locked up here wasn't just impractical, comma, but it was doing her a disservice when it came to her socialization, period, to paragraph. After all, comma, there would be a time when Georgina wouldn't just want to leave, comma, but would be capable of doing so on her own, period, to paragraph, with or without Chase's consent, period, to paragraph. And wasn't it her job as the woman's aunt? And wasn't it her job as the girl's aunt to prepare her, comma, to best prepare her for success in society? Question mark. Sure, comma, you could argue what it meant to be successful, comma. But what she was doing now, keeping her here, comma, away from kids her own age, comma, wouldn't well, comma, Chase knew that this probably, not even Chase could convince herself that she was doing the right thing, period, to paragraph. The plate slipped from Chase's hand and clanged loudly in the metal basin, period, to paragraph. She sighed, comma, resting her arms on the hands on the counter and breathing deeply, period, new paragraph, open quote. Sorry, comma, close quote. She grumbled, period, open quote. It slipped, period, close quote, new paragraph. Open quote. Don't worry about it, comma. Close quote, Louisa said, period, open quote. It's not like it's fine china or anything, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Chase took another deep breath, period, in a paragraph. It's about time for her to leave, comma, she thought, period. But then Chase shook her head and banished this idea, period, in a paragraph. It was hard for her to think that someone was just looking out for her, comma, trying to help her, comma, without wanting anything else in return other than reciprocated friendship, period, in a paragraph. It was hard for her, comma, because throughout her whole life, comma, the only people that spent any time with her, comma, were the Tyler Tisdale types, period, in a paragraph. And they wanted more than friendship in return, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Sorry, comma, close quote. Chase repeated, comma, this time only loud enough for herself to hear, period, in a paragraph. She put on her fakest smile and turned around to look at Georgina and Louisa, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Just a little tired from my run earlier, period. Close quote in a paragraph, open quote. Yeah? Question mark. Close quote, Louisa asked, period, in a paragraph. Chase nodded, and Georgina went back to eating her sandwich, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Yeah. Period, close quote in a paragraph, open quote. I don't know how you do it, period. The other day, comma, I went out to run 5K, M dash, and let me tell you this. I'm no runner, comma, but I thought 5 kilometers? Question mark. I could do that? Question mark. Well, comma, I can't do that, comma, as it turns out, period. I ran for 10 minutes, then I had to take a break, period, close quote in a paragraph, open quote. You gotta start... 10 minutes isn't bad, comma, close quote. Chase offered, comma, thankful for the change in subject, period. Open quote. You got to start slow, period, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote. See, comma, that's the thing, comma, close quote. Louisa continued, period, open quote. I tried to start slow, comma. I tried to start out by barely jogging, comma, but then, comma, I just keep going faster and faster and faster until I can't breathe and have to take a break, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Chase knew the feeling, semicolon, even though now she'd been running for years, comma, and after she'd kicked her various vices, comma, she was able to put up a pretty respectable 10-kilometer time, period. But still, comma, on days like today, comma, when she'd already run in the morning, but her emotions were starting to ramp up in the afternoon, comma, she'd go for a second run, period, to paragraph. And this wasn't a 10-kilometer run, period, to paragraph. This was an all-out speed burst, comma, something that would leave her gasping in air, comma, doubled over with her lungs burning and her legs on fire, period, to paragraph. Open quote. You just gotta pace yourself, comma, close quote. Chase said softly, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. I'm done, comma, close quote. Georgina exclaimed, comma, rising to her feet, period, open quote. Can I go play some more, period? I promise not to pick any more flowers, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Open quote. Take out your plate first, comma, then you can go play, comma, close quote. Georgina nodded, comma, brought it over to the sink behind Chase and gently lowered it inside, period, to paragraph, open quote. It was nice to see you, Louisa, comma, close quote. Georgina said, period, to paragraph, open quote. It was nice to see you too, comma, Georgie, period, close quote, in a paragraph. And then, comma, Georgina was gone, comma, slipping on her shoes quickly and bounding out the back door, as if this interlude had never happened, period. As if her exploration of the large field and pond and flowers behind Chase's log cabin had never ended, period, of paragraph. Open quote. When you see the drone, comma, don't forget to come home, period, close quote. Chase hollered after her, comma, but Georgina was already gone, period, of paragraph. Chase sighed and finished doing the dishes, period. When she was done, comma, she was surprised to see that Louisa was standing behind her, period, of paragraph, open quote. I know you're doing your best, comma, Chase, comma, I know, period. And I don't mean to be judge. And I don't mean to judge you, M dash. I've made terrible mistakes as a mother, comma, trust me, M dash. But I think you need to let her out a little more, period. Let her spread her wings, period, close quote in a paragraph. Chase felt a sudden tick of anger, comma, but she forced it back down, period. The paragraph, open quote. I know, comma, close quote. Chase replied, period, open quote. I know, period. I'm trying, period, close quote in the paragraph. She was grateful when Louisa decided to let it at that, period, in the paragraph. Leave it at that, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. You want a coffee or something? Question mark, close quote. Louisa asked, period, in the paragraph. No, comma, what I want is something stronger, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Sure, period, close quote, in the paragraph. It was strange to let Louisa make the coffee in her own house, comma, but she'd already made the sandwiches, comma, and Chase could do with a break, period, in the paragraph. She plopped herself down at the head of the table, comma, and let her eyes drift out the screen door, period. She could just see Georgina fading in the distance, comma, her blue and white polka dot dress blending seamlessly in with the sky and horizon, period, in the paragraph. A few moments later, comma, a coffee mug appeared in front of her, comma, and Louisa took up residence at the other end of the table, period, in the paragraph, open quote. You could spread your wings a little, comma, too, period. How long you been cooped up here for? Question mark, close quote in a paragraph. Chase sipped the coffee and instantly regretted it as the roof of her mouth cried out, period, in a paragraph, open quote. You know how long I've been here, period, close quote in a paragraph. Louisa nodded, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. And have you seen anybody? Question mark. Besides me and Georgina, comma, I mean. Question mark, close quote in the paragraph. Chase was about to nod and then shook her head, period, in the paragraph. Open quote. Stitz? Question mark. Drake? Question mark. Anybody? Question mark. Chase shook her head again, period, in the paragraph, open quote. What about that cute brooding guy with the beard, question mark. Drake, or whatever, question mark. He's here in New York, comma, isn't he? Question mark, close quote in the paragraph. Drake, or whatever his name is, question mark. He's here in New York, comma, isn't he? Question mark, close quote in the paragraph. An image of Drake's face flash in her mind, period, in the paragraph, open quote. No, comma, I haven't seen anybody, period, close quote in the paragraph. Louisa sighed, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Well, comma. You think it's about time? Question mark, close quote in the paragraph. Chase opened her mouth to answer, comma, when a cell phone when she was interrupted by a foreign sound, period, in the paragraph. It was like a rattling of some sort, comma, as if someone was rolling a dice. Rolling a heavy die on a wooden table, period, in the paragraph. Her eyes searched for the sound and eventually fell to rest on the small table near the front entrance, period, in the paragraph. On top of it, her cell phone was vibrating and the screen lit up, period, in the paragraph. Chase's brow furrowed, peering to paragraph. She kept her cell phone plugged in at all times, comma, and she still played for her plan, comma, but it was a colossal waste of money, peering to paragraph. After what had happened at the Butterfly Gardens, comma, she'd gotten the occasional text from someone in the NYPD, comma, but when she didn't reply to these, comma, they eventually stopped, peering to paragraph. In fact, comma, she couldn't remember the last time it had actually buzzed at all, peering to paragraph, open quote. You gonna answer that? Question mark, close quote, Louisa asked, comma, hooking your chin towards the still buzzing phone, period to paragraph. Open quote, probably just a cell phone company calling to ask if I want to upgrade my plan. Period, close quote, to paragraph. Louisa suddenly bounded to her feet and made her way over to the phone, period to paragraph, open quote. Louisa, comma, please, comma, just leave it, comma, close quote. Chase pleaded, comma, trying to get in her way, period to paragraph. But Louisa was stubborn as all hell, semicolon. She pushed by her, comma, and grabbed the phone, period to paragraph. Chase watched her face, comma, as she read the screen, period to paragraph, open quote. See? Question mark. I told you it was just a telemarketer or something, period, close quote. New paragraph. Louisa held the phone in one hand and her smile faded, period to paragraph, open quote. It's not a telemarketer, comma, close quote, she said, period to paragraph. Now it was Chase's turn to frown, period to paragraph, open quote. No? Question mark. Then who is it? Question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. Chase took 2 steps forward and Louisa turned the phone to face her, period to paragraph. There was a single name appearing on the screen, comma. When Chase read the single name on the screen, comma, her heart fell into the pit of her stomach, period. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so that's just a little bit more about Chase there, about her mindset, her headspace, this idea of kind of keeping Georgina wrapped up. I mean, the irony is that Georgina, both her sister, her since deceased sister, and her niece, they were both captives prior to this by those crazy guys in where were they again? Virginia, maybe? I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, those crazy guys, they were captives. So the irony is that Chase is actually keeping her daughter, her niece, captive as well. Obviously for different reasons and different purposes and different intentions, but the fact is that she's doing a very similar thing. So she needs something to break the routine. People usually find themselves in these routines. Like, as humans, we absolutely are beholden to routines. Our brain works that way. Everything from our eyesight to our body's internal clock is all routine based. So it's very hard when you get into a negative routine to be broken out of it. And sometimes you need a kick in the ass or kick in another organ, more sensitive organ, to kind of buck that trend. So that's what Floyd's purpose is going to. I'm not saying it's Floyd on the phone. Whoever's on the phone, it's their purpose is going to be to give a little kick and to break Chase out of her routine. We're gonna get back to Floyd in one moment. Amazon just recently changed the way that they display things. It used to be that they would say, people who bought this. Oh, there it is. Okay. They're always mucking about with how they display things. Amazon always testing out new things. So I'm here at this Ellery Kane thing because it's intriguing me, and I'm looking at other books similar to Ellery Kane or people who bought that book also liked. You know how it works. The also bots, as we call them in the industry. This is super popular, this type of cover. The bold text and a part of a woman's face. Actually, you know what I just picked up today? This is what I picked up today, and I started listening to it. Pretty intriguing. I absolutely love the cover. At first I was like, I don't know about this cover, but now you can see it's the same person's face. Okay, so I got a Nur Chaim. Sorry if I'm not saying that correctly, but on Twitch, he's also a writer, and he wrote and published the first book, was action drama, fictional World War II. One time travel, and the other paranormal activity horror book. Oh, I see. And they're all connected. Yeah, I love to do books that are connected in the same universe. And you know, even my thriller books, there are occasional. Sorry about that. There are occasional links to the horror books. Like it's oftentimes just a little bit of graffiti, but I love doing that too. You're writing an action drama fictional World War II book, a time travel book, and a paranormal activity book, horror book. Okay, well, you're covering a lot of genres there. I like it. I like it. I didn't get to that sooner. I'm still working out how to get all three of the chats, the Facebook, the Twitch, and the YouTube in the same location. Yeah, so I started listening to this, and you know what? The thing that turns me off a little bit about this book is just it's in first person, and I'm not a really big first person reader. I don't know why. All my books, as you notice, are third person. He, she, that sort of thing. He did this, Chase did this, blah blah blah. Whereas this one is, I did this, I did that. I guess with a title like "When I Was You," kind of have to be first person. I was thinking about that today. I was listening to this while I was working out at the gym, and I was thinking about, could I write a book in first person? Would I want to? Would it be hard, more difficult? Sure. I would say that the reason why I write most of my books, or all of my books, sorry, in third person is because that's kind of the books that I read when I was growing up. That's what Stephen King does. That's what, if I can recall, Christopher Pike, R.L. Stein, those type of books. All right, let's keep going, guys. Let's get a couple more chapters in. We're going to go back to Floyd. Just doing a little thinking now. Thinking about like what's going to happen in this chapter. I know how this chapter is going to end, obviously with a phone call, and I'm just thinking about how do I get there. Like what is going to inspire him to make that call. All right, so I don't know. I'm just gonna roll with it. Chapter 4, new paragraph. After a few minutes, comma, the revulsion that Floyd felt in the pit of his stomach from the scene before him started to fade, period. Professionalism, comma, some people would call it, period, to paragraph. Desensitization, comma, was what Floyd referred to it as, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Any footage of them before it happened? Question mark, close quote. Floyd asked as he made his way towards the crime techs that had since lowered themselves into the subway tunnel and were collecting evidence from the tracks, comma, most of which was soaked in blood, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Yep, comma. 3 cameras, comma, close quote, Dunbar said, period. Floyd looked over at him and he pointed. At the man as he pointed first to the upper right on the other side of the tracks, comma, and then to 2 cameras far behind them, period, new paragraph. Clearly, comma, the man had made some... Clearly, comma, the detective saw something in his face because he followed with, comma, open quote, it's New York City, period. There are cameras everywhere, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Floyd nodded, comma, and his eyes trained on the camera that was high above them and to the right, period, new paragraph, open quote. That looks like it's aimed just right at the platform, period. Close quote, new paragraph, open quote. It is, period. Close quote. There was something in the tone of the man's voice that caused Floyd to draw his eyes away from the small white camera and back to the detective, period, new paragraph, open quote. And did it, M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. That's the thing, comma, Floyd, period. Remember how you said that these kids were happy and had everything going for them, question mark? Close quote, new paragraph. Floyd just stared, comma, recalling the information that he'd read from the folder that he'd gotten from the FBI, period, new paragraph, open quote. Well, comma, take a look at this, period, close quote, new paragraph. Detective Dunbar pulled his cell phone out of his pocket and turned it to portrait mode, period. Used a nail-bitten finger to scroll through some of the items, period. He found what he was looking for, comma, and then turned the phone for Floyd to see, period, in a paragraph. Even though the screen image on the small screen was blurry, comma, the sight of the 4 girls all standing in a line, comma, all looking down at their cell phones, comma, made Floyd's heart skip a beat, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. When was this taken? Question mark, close quote, he asked almost breathlessly, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Just a few minutes before, before they jumped, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Jumped, period. This was no accident, period. This was intentional, comma, Floyd reminded himself, period, in a paragraph. He still couldn't believe that these 4 girls, all dressed in white blouses tucked into plaid skirts, comma, with knee-high white stockings and expensive-looking shoes, comma, all smiling brightly with perfectly combed blonde hair, comma, jumped, period, in a paragraph. Seemed impossible, comma, and if it weren't for the carnage behind him on the subway tracks, comma, you wouldn't have believed it, period, in a paragraph. Floyd hadn't personally been part of any investigations into suicides, comma, much less mass suicides, period, in a paragraph, but there had been a course of it during his time in the academy, period, in a paragraph. And while circumstances changed from case to case, comma, from motivation to motivation, comma, generally there were 3 things that were common among suicides, comma, colon. People there were some commonalities among suicides, period to paragraph. First and foremost, comma, is that people didn't get up and groom themselves as if going to work, comma, only to end their lives, period to paragraph. They preferred to do it in the comfort of their own home, comma, or somewhere else where they felt at ease, period to paragraph. Even those who wanted to make a spectacle, comma, preferred to even those who intended to make a spectacle, comma, to draw attention to themselves or a particular cause, comma, went about it differently than these girls, period to paragraph. They did it in a boisterous, comma, obnoxious way, comma, something to draw. And there was some preamble prior to it actually happening, period. Some hint of the destruction that was to come, period to paragraph, but very rarely did. And while teenage suicides were unfortunately on the rise in the United States, comma, they were often the result of some deep-rooted depression, comma, and manifested itself in the form of an overdose of pills or using a razor blade to cut oneself, period to paragraph. Something like this, of 4 girls, all dressed as if they're ready to go to class, comma, decided at the last second to change their mind and step in front of the subway track was not something that Floyd was familiar with, period to paragraph. Floyd concentrated on the image on the screen, period. He saw the girls look down at their cell phones, comma, almost exactly in sequence, comma, and the first thing that occurred to him was that they had received a group text, period to paragraph, and then they held hands, comma, and then they it was clear that the one on the left, comma, the tallest of the 4 was the one in charge, comma, the way she held herself, period, the way she observed the others after reading this mysterious text, period to paragraph. And then she reached out for her friend's hand and they formed a chain, period to paragraph. She raised her foot, comma, and then pushed off and the others did the same, period to paragraph. Floyd looked away before impact, period to paragraph. And he was grateful that the video was not accompanied by any sound, period to paragraph. Open quote. We've got talks looking into their open quote. Open quote. As soon as the texts are done here, comma, I'm going to send their blood to tox to make sure they didn't have anything in their system, comma, close quote. Dunbar said, period. This was the obvious thing to do, comma, and it was obvious. And Floyd perceived that Dunbar simply uttered these words to break the uncomfortable silence, period. Open quote. I've also got them. My tech team. A couple computer guys, comma, looking into their social media, comma, see if they can dig up any common threads, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Open quote. Their phones, comma, close quote, Floyd said softly, comma, his eyes drifting back to the subway tracks, comma, following the trail of blood until trying to spy out their cell phones amongst the blood and flesh and hair, period to paragraph, open quote. Detective Dunbar signaled to one of the techs that was not yet lowered himself into the tracks, period, new paragraph. The man hurried over, period, new paragraph. In a white plastic jumpsuit, hurried over, period, new paragraph, open quote. Have you found their cell phones yet? Question mark, close quote. Dunbar asked, period, new paragraph, open quote. Found 2 of them, comma, unfortunately they're broken, period. Already been bagged and cataloged into evidence, period, close quote, into paragraph, open quote. Good, period. I want you to send them to my tech guys. And see if they could pull up the last text messages, period. At the same time, comma, we'll see if we could talk to their providers, comma, get the information that way in case the phones are too damaged to retrieve it, period, close quote, into paragraph, open quote. No, comma, close quote. Floyd said softly, period, new paragraph. Dunbar looked over at him, comma, as did the man in the hazmat suit, period, new paragraph, open quote. No? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd shook his head again, comma, and met Dunbar's eyes, period, new paragraph, open quote. No, comma, what I mean is, comma, I'll take the tech guys, period, if that's okay with you. Period, close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar stared at him for a moment longer before answering, period, new paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, sure, period. Close quote, new paragraph. When the man in the hazmat suit didn't leave right away, comma, Dunbar turned to him. You heard the FBI agent, comma, close quote. He said sternly, period, open quote. Get them the phones, period. Just make sure they're bagged and tagged, period, close quote, in a paragraph. The man nodded and hurried away, comma, shuffling in his... As he moved, comma, the coarse fabric between his thighs rubbed together and made an annoying shuffling sound that grated Floyd's nerves, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. Floyd, comma, I don't mean to be rude or speak out of line, comma, but you have any experience in cases like this? Question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. If anybody else had asked this question, comma, if a strange sheriff in a small town or a bull-headed deputy who thought he could crack the case had uttered these words, comma, Floyd would have taken offense, period. He would have called rank, comma. He would have said what Chase used to say, period, in a paragraph. This isn't a dick measuring contest, comma. You called me in to help, so let me help, period, in a paragraph. But this was Dunbar, period, in a paragraph. And the man had some intuition, it appeared, period, in a paragraph. After all, comma, Floyd had never worked a case like this, period, in a paragraph. He closed his eyes for a moment, and all he could picture were the 4 girls standing holding hands, comma, their foot poised inches above the open platform, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. No, comma, I haven't, period, close quote, in a paragraph. More silence before Dunbar spoke up again, period, in a paragraph, open quote. Do you think, M dash, close quote, in a paragraph, open quote, M dash, that we're going to need some help? Question mark, close quote. Floyd finished for him, period. As he spoke, comma, he pulled his cell phone out of his pocket and scrolled to a name that he hadn't used. Number that he hadn't dialed in so long that just the sight of it made him anxious, period, in the paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, I mean, comma. As soon as the media, M dash, close quote, in a paragraph. Once again, comma, Floyd interrupted, period, in a paragraph, open quote. I think we do, comma, Dunbar, period. I think we're going to need help on this one, comma. And god damn it, if there's only one person I can think of calling, period, close quote in a paragraph, and then, comma, before his nerves got the better of him, comma, Floyd's thumb hammered down on that foreign number, and the phone started to ring. All right, people. All right, okay, so another chapter down. Just wanted to illustrate how Floyd's feeling here, and then give him that kind of push to contact his friend, who let's be honest, we know who it is. I think the one thing that I'm kind of missing from that chapter is him thinking about the young girl, like the thing. The reason why he thinks that Chase can help is because Chase, has some experience dealing with crimes against children, I guess. And while this doesn't necessarily fit the bill, they're teenagers. It's a suicide, not a murder. I'm looking. I think that's the connection that he's going to draw. Also, it's just he knows that the way Chase can do her voodoo, as Stitz used to call it, that she would be able to put kind of more of the pieces together. The problem is, of course, as you recall, Chase's voodoo is, after she got shocked, kind of went away. So I got another follower on Twitch. Thank you. Mercedes. Welcome to the Thrilligans, where I sit here and I pretend to work while I just chat to you guys about awesome books and awesome books, movies, how to write books, how to read books, just authorly stuff. I think I'm going to call it right there. I think that was pretty good. I might come back on a little bit later to do a bit more. We managed working out. I think I was at 2,000 words. We did about 5,000 words today. Like, the story is just getting going. But it should pick up a little bit. I'm happy with today's production. I feel like I'm getting back into the zone a little. I feel like feeling the muscle memory take over. The thick muscle between my ears getting going. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys loved the chat that we had as well, because I had a really, really good time. Thanks again for all the likes, shares, tweets, supporters, everything you can do. Whoa, yeah, quick reminder. I'm going to post actually an event on the Facebook page and on Twitch and YouTube. But tomorrow we're going to have a very special guest in the evening. I'm going to be back tomorrow, same time, 10 o'clock. If that stinky guy's not at the gym, I can get my workout in. I'll be on time. And we'll be back here. We'll do a lot more work. And then we're going to have that very special guest. So I hope to see you guys there. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and keep on reading.